Twitter. Thank you so much for having me again, Dr. Richie.
Always a pleasure. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are a doer of the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought.
Hello and welcome to Unbossed. I am your host, Nina Turner, and in the co-host chair today is none other than Francesca Fiorentini, an HQ Rebel contributor. It is so good to have you back. We missed you on Unbossed.
It's been a while. But I'm super glad to be here, and I'll be a present here on your show a lot more in April. Very excited. I feel like it's gonna be a good month. I feel like there's a lot of bad, but a lot of resistance, and watching your opening reminded me of how much people are standing up to the BS, and that gives me hope.
Yeah, me too, Francesca. And we need that. Hope is, you need it to keep on pushing on. So that is what we are going to do. So Francesca and I will be covering Tennessee Republicans. Yeah, we going to Tennessee. The Tennessee Republicans continue to lick the boots of the NRA. And a teenager created an invention that reimagines gun safety. So good for her and us. And later in the show, Hochul is helping her fossil fuel donors gut the key climate law in her state. She is the queen of the neoliberals, and she's back. Now, don't forget to subscribe. Please make sure if you're watching the show today that you subscribe and send some of this love, this excellentness to people, to your friends and your frenemies. Let them know that one of the best hours of their day is happening right now. And if they can't catch us live and in living color, they can always get us on video on demand or on podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So do that for us today. We start off in the great state of Tennessee. All types of foolishness and mayhem happening in that state, particularly in the state legislature. Watch this. That was a beautiful sound, a beautiful sight. That was video from Tennessee Democratic lawmaker Justin Jones, Representative Jones, who plays a prominent role in this story. He was recording students making, and others, there were some other folks there as well, not just students, making their voices heard and protesting in the state capitol. At the end, he pushed he was pushed by one of his Republican colleagues, Justin Lafferty, had the nerve to put his hands on somebody. Now, if you were in doubt before, you should not be in doubt anymore. These Republican-dominated legislatures have gone full-blown drunk with power. And we got to do something about that. Take a look at this headline. Tennessee House Republicans take steps to remove Democratic lawmakers after they joined gun control protests. The nerve, basically trying to take away the rights of their Democratic colleagues to be out there, you guessed it, with the people, something that the GOP know nothing about. Tennessee House Republicans on Monday took steps towards expelling 3 Democratic state representatives after they participated in protests at the state capitol last Thursday, calling for more gun control in the wake of the deadly mass shooting at Nashville's Covenant School. Now, don't forget that 3 children and 3 adults were killed at the Covenant School in Nashville. And we now know the following. We know a little more than we knew when the story was first reported. The 28-year-old who killed 3 children and 3 adults at a Christian school in Nashville last week fired 152 rounds. Nashville police said Monday, adding that while they have yet to determine a motive, the shooter planned the attack over a period of months and studied other mass murders. This report is coming from CNN. CNN reporter goes on, the shooter, identified as former student Audrey Hale, acted totally alone. Metro Nashville police said in the Monday update, investigators with the police department and the FBI's behavioral analyst unit continue to review writings left behind by Hale, which police said Monday contained documentation of Hale's planning. Now, let's get back to the Tennessee GOP, those members of the legislature. Tennessee voters, y'all got to check yourself on this, because y'all elected these fools, and truthfully, they are fools, trying to take away people's rights. Yeah, just do what I say do when I say do it, or else I'm gonna use my power against you. Yeah, those kinds of people. GOP lawmakers filed 3 resolutions Monday, one each seeking the expulsion of Reps Gloria Johnson, Rep Justin Jones, and Rep Justin Pearson of Memphis, each of whom was already removed from their committee assignments after last week's demonstrations. The resolutions were filed by Republican Reps Bud Husley, Gino Bulso, and Andrew Farmer. The 3 Democratic lawmakers led a protest on the House floor last Thursday. Good for them. A CNN affiliate, WSMV, reported using a bullhorn as demonstrators called for lawmakers to do something to prevent further gun violence after 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults, and those adults were in their 60s, were killed in a mass shootings at the private Christian school last week. Yeah, do something. And I'm so glad, Francesca, that the 3 Democrats are certainly showing the requisite emotion that fits this moment and standing with the people and not trying to be all prim and proper about it, but making a demand and being right there with the people of all ages, but primarily led by students who are standing up saying, you guys ought to do something too.
I mean, that's a really important point, right? Like, they're willing to cross that line of so-called, respectability politics and say, no, we're gonna be the leaders that we were elected to be. And we understand that we have the grassroots behind us, and this is a nonpartisan issue. It's literally whether you wanna live or die when you go to school. That's it, or anywhere, or go to the mall, or go to a movie. That's what gun control is in this country, and the young folks understand this no matter what state you're in. And so I think it's so perfect, because we see, even mainstream media outlets and everyone wants to put it on equal footing. Well, what's the difference between this Capitol protest and storming the Capitol on January 6th? And you sort of see the way that it's like, especially in the Beltway kind of, again, polite society, that we're not supposed to do these things. We have no time. These children have no time. They wanna live. They wanna live tomorrow, and they wanna live in 50 years when climate change threatens everything about their way of life.
Yeah, they want to live. Their parents want them to live. I got to imagine the community that they're from want them to live. And we should have elected officials across this country who want them to live too. But instead of the Republicans using their power for good to really do something, Francesca, a lot of elected officials, we always banting about, bipartisanship. If bipartisanship causes you to sell out, it ain't good bipartisanship. But if bipartisanship gets you to come together for something of substance, that is real. And the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee legislature has the opportunity to do something real, but instead they're not. Take a look at this.
It's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals, and my daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
You know what? Let's put Francesco. There's something wrong with these people. Now, I don't know his granddaddy. Okay, let me just go on and confess that up front.
Sure.
But I would imagine that his granddaddy talking about war in a war situation was not necessarily referring to this kind of situation. So look, on one hand, Francesca, I kind of understand in a way, right? If somebody like this young lady had determined, right? She was studying it, right, but he's using it in the wrong type of way. Yes, she had an intention to do it. She decided to do it. And like most mass killers, they make a decision. There's a however behind that. However, we do have an obligation, no matter if this mass shooter made a decision, the ones in the past and those in the future, does not abdicate us from our responsibility as a so-called civil society to do things and put rules and laws in place and wrap around services in place to do something about it. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, Francesca. Maybe I'm wrong. But this dude right here, I don't think he understood what his granddaddy was trying to say. Absolutely, there's a point of that, because there's a point. Two things can be true. More than one thing can be true at once, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, his granddaddy's rolling in his grave right now. Like, he took that out of context completely. Like, by that same logic of people are gonna do bad things and there's nothing we can do, you say, look, Hitler just wants to invade and he wants to take over all of Europe, let him have it. Look, Hitler just wants to, murder 6 million Jews and in fact, accomplish it. He wants to murder 4 million more, let him do it. That is the logic by which, if you applied the way the Republicans operate after every mass shooting and you put that back in history, you just never help anyone and you never get involved. No, his dad actually fought to stop the bloodshed. Now, in this case, it's a very simple thing, and you're totally right. Look, if you have it out for someone, you want to kill someone, okay, hey, I guess that's on you. And there's a lot of issues around, we talk about mental health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it should not be so easy to take not just one person's life, but 6 people's lives, right? And we know it's not that easy when you don't have access to high-powered, high-magazine automatic weapons like the one that Audrey Hale used and so many mass shooters used. And we're talking about the AR-15. And look, I believe in going further than that, but let's start with the assault weapons ban. Last thing I'm gonna say is, you don't Nina, but from the moment you got involved, I'm sure we can all pinpoint. What was that moment, where you were like, it sort of turned you this is not a democracy. Lawmakers don't represent me, and the cops are not on my side. Just a few basic things, For me, it was around the Iraq War. Look at these kids. They're yelling to their lawmakers who've been elected to protect them and legislate, and they're completely turning their backs on them. You know what that does? That makes lifelong activists of those children. Those kids are gonna grow up and they will never forget it, and they're gonna replace you one day.
Amen to that. Replace them one day soon. But in the meantime, in between time, some of these growner folks need to get out there and get to replacing these people if they want to save the lives of their babies and their neighbors' babies. Because you ain't got to have children in school to have empathy and to understand that this is not any way to live, not at all. So absolutely, there's something wrong with these people. And this tweet right here from Wisconsin State Rep Francesca Hong, quote tweeting Tennessee Rep Justin Jones, to me just sums it all up. She said, absolute fascist effery Okay, y'all fill in the blank. Y'all know what it is. Ooh, I want to say that so bad because that is a nice alliteration. That's a nice alliteration she got going on there. Fascist effery happening in the Tennessee state ledge today. To watch parts of democracy disintegrate in real time is devastating. Thank you to Rep. Jones and the representatives in support of the young people and not the cowards who refuse to act to protect them. And absolutely right, she called them exactly what they are. Let me put immoral in front of that. They are immoral cowards. They're not patriots to this country. And of course, she was quote tweeting Rep. Justin Jones, and Rep. Justin Jones, to you and your other two colleagues, thank you all for standing up. And he tweeted, tonight as Tennessee House Republicans push forward to schedule vote on our expulsion, Speaker Sexton orders the gallery cleared as crowds chant fascists, and that's exactly what they are. Media forced out as well. Then Rep. Lafferty pushes me and grabs my phone. Had no right to put his hands on that man, and I hope he files assault charges against his behind. This is a sad day for Tennessee. Indeed, it is a sad, sad day for Tennessee. The bright side of that is what Francesca laid out, is that we got a whole bunch of activists, young people out there who will never forget this and will continue to fight and push. And then meanwhile, we're gonna go from Tennessee to the great state of Florida. Florida, I pray for you every single night. Ron DeSanctimonious is making it more dangerous in the state. Let's put up this headline right here. DeSantis signs bill to carry concealed guns without a permit. The new law will allow anyone who can legally own a gun in Florida to carry one without a permit. It means training and a background check will not be required to carry concealed guns in public. It takes effect on July the 1st. Now, Fred Guttenberg, a gun violence activist who lost his 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, in the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Florida that claimed the lives of 17 people, spoke out. I am pissed. I will chase him down across the state as well as possibly across the country, because Ron DeSantis today put his signature to a bill that guarantees that there will be more Jameses. Somebody in Florida might die because of this legislation. That will be because of you, Ron DeSantis. You are a weak, pathetic, small-minded individual. You better say that, Mr. Guttenberg. Probably got small hands too. If I'm gonna quote Trump, Francesca, not take it all the way. This right here, first of all, anybody that wants a gun should have to get a permit, should have to go through training, and should have to have a background check. Right. But what this dude has just done, I mean, it really is the Wild Wild West all over again, and taking effect on July the 1st, right before July 4th. Really, dude?
Yay.
Yeah.
We can shoot the sky along with the fireworks. This will be great. Yay, America. I mean, it's incredible how our freedom is measured by how unsafe our children are in school, because that's effectively what this is. And I have to say though, this is the floor. Background checks are the floor. We've known that. And background checks are supported by the majority of Americans. That means the majority of Floridians. So Mr. Guttenberg, who lost his 14-year-old along with 17 people, this is not ancient history, people, right? And all it takes is tomorrow what's gonna happen, right? Will we even know when a mass shooting happens? A mass shooting is more than 4 or more people being killed at one time. That happens a lot in this country. So it's so basic, it's so simple to do a background check. It wouldn't and won't stop all of the mass shootings, but man, it'll go a long way. And at least if there's a waiting period at getting guns out of the hands of people who have histories of domestic violence, I'm tired. It's kind of the way we're not covering Trump today, Nina, and I'm so happy for that. But I feel the way about gun control, the way I feel about Trump. I'm so tired. The difference is one issue, literally, the blood on the NRA's hands and gun manufacturers and GOP's hands, more and more and more, and more blood. So you can't get tired of this because people are losing their family members every single day. But I am hitting my head against a wall here. And when you're like, man, we can't even get a small reform. Well, hell, let's go for the whole thing. Take the guns back, all of them. I don't even care. I want them all back. That's where my mind goes. That's where I'm so mad. That's where I go.
Yeah, you know them Second Amendment folks ain't gonna be pleased with you going all the way there, all the way
But
there.
I have no power, so
they have nothing to worry about. I totally understand what you're saying here. I get it, but I really appreciate the dad just laying it down. I mean, he really did. I am pissed. That's the way you start off. That's the kind of emotion, because I'm tired of these, cool, calm, and collected cats. He said, "Thank you, team. I am pissed. I will chase him down." See, that's what a daddy says.
Yeah.
That lost his baby. I will chase him down across the state as well as possibly across the country. In other words, DeSantis, baby, I'm shadowing you. Everywhere you turn, I'm gonna be right there. Because Ron DeSantis today put his signature to a bill that guarantees that there will be more Jamesons. Somebody in Florida may die because of this legislation. You can be guaranteed a lot of people are gonna die because of this legislation. And that will be because of you, Ron DeSantis, like he naming the name. You are a weak, this is my favorite part right here. You are a weak, pathetic, small-minded, can I add, immoral individual. You go ahead on. See that's how you drive. That's how we should be comporting ourselves when something of this magnitude happens, instead of just sending our thoughts and prayers and being cool, calm, and collected. Now I'm all for thoughts and prayers. I really am, because I do believe in that. But there's an and to it. It's not a but and. We gotta demand that these people take some damn action. Hello,
meanwhile,
on that.
Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt. Hello, somebody. Oh, I can't believe I did that. But I just wanted to add that meanwhile, we know that whether it's the RNC, whether it's CPAC, whether it's Ron DeSantis's own meetings, all of these fools walk around, talking about gun rights and then prohibit guns from any of their events, any of their meetings, any of their rallies. We've seen this time and time again. Why? Because they're elitist at the end of the day. And they believe that they have the right to live and not be aggressed upon. And you don't. We deserve to die in the streets. They sort of float above us in their sort of limousines and at their rallies. And oh yeah, lots of Secret Service, lots of protection, making sure that you're not packing heat. But for kids, for school students, doesn't matter.
Yeah, true that, Francesca. Well, we're gonna keep fighting this, and kudos to those young people who are doing that. Oh, here we got some good news here. Finally, since Congress won't do anything about gun violence, 19-year-old Kayla Austin has taken it upon herself to do something. Check out this headline. This teenager created an invention that reimagines gun safety by helping parents to efficiently monitor their firearms. Good on you, Kayla. Kayla Austin, 19, is a gun control activist who is the founder and CEO of My Gun's Been Moved, a smart device that helps parents track, monitor, and place safeguards on their personal firearms at home in order to reduce gun violence, specifically for children. If a child moves the gun from the pad, an alarm goes off and the app notifies the parent that their gun was moved. And this is coming from In the Know. The Howard University student invented this device at just 12 years old, driven by a personal tragedy that struck her family when she was younger. And she continues to lead the charge for at-home gun regulation and safety. And here is a picture of Kayla Austin. Howard University tweeted this out. Kayla Austin aids her community in the battle against gun violence with the help of the HU community, Howard University community, and curriculum. She created the app, My Gun's Been Moved, a proposed item that alerts gun owners when their weapons have been relocated via Bluetooth. Good on her. Oh my God, this is just so amazing. And Kayla spoke to what inspired her to create My Gun's Been Moved, and she said the following: I chose to study gun violence, specifically against youth, because I felt like that wasn't being talked about enough. Your thoughts on this, Francesca?
I say give her a contract, like contract with her, give her all the money, get her some investors, whether it's I would say give her a government contract. I want a no bid government contract for Kayla right there. All right, if it's good enough for Dick Cheney in Iraq, it's good enough to stop people from being killed from firearms. But this is, look, we just talked about this. This week there's a lawsuit from a teacher trying to sue a school for not letting her know and keeping her safe from a 6-year-old who had a handgun. Now that 6-year-old got the gun from his mom's drawer, which was clearly not safe. Now, all you need to do in a lot of these places that do have background checks is simply pass a test that's like, where do you keep a gun? And if you answer it right, which is in a safe or in a locked drawer or whatever, then you get your gun. Well, the problem is people don't actually do that when they have guns in the household, right? And we saw that evidenced in this school. We see it evidenced everywhere else. So this is a perfect solution. I was trying to rack my head trying to come up with different. No, this is perfect. It should be low cost. It should be subsidized. Again, there should be VCs swarming all over this instead of other BS apps that don't do anything, that are trying to disrupt stuff. No. This is a good thing. It's like an Apple tracker or whatever tracker, you put it on there, it alerts you if it's gone. End of story. It's amazing. We have more controls over a kid's iPad, than we do over guns.
There it is. Yeah, we do. Well, Kayla, thank you for this. Oh, Kayla, she is just definitely transforming the world already. She is just getting started. Now, Dr. Bernice King, so Kayla has making her voice heard through her invention, actually doing something. And Francesca's right. Y'all need to get her in there and get her a contract for this. Let's do this all over the country. Then we have Dr. Bernice King, and she's calling for school strikes. At the top of the show, we talked about the youth of Tennessee taking action in their own hands by standing up and protesting at that Capitol. And now they've got a prominent supporter, the one and only Reverend Dr. Bernice King. And she is making it clear that she stands with our young people and the actions that they are taking. 150%. And here's the headline: Bernice King urges permanent school strike until assault weapons ban is passed. And Reverend Dr. King, she spoke with the Hill about her call to action, and she said the following: This issue that they're standing tall in is well past being addressed. It should not have to take this kind of effort, but we're living in times where what my father did, which was to really sacrifice their very lives, sacrifice their jobs, sacrifice their homes, sacrifice everything. We're right back at that place. And Reverend Dr. Bernice King, she is the CEO of the King Center. And she went on to say, I wish there was a way to really organize them in a way that their walkout is not just a day, but it's the Montgomery bus protest, that we refuse to return to school until there is something significant, some significant legislation that bans assault weapons. My father was assassinated with a rifle that would be the equivalent of what we call assault weapons today. And 55 years later, we're just increasing the access to those instruments. Amen, Reverend Dr. Bernice King on that. And if in fact you are too young to remember, the US did have an assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004. And it was called the Federal Assault Weapons Ban. According to a 2021 study by Northwestern University, that ban did in fact work. It did what it was designed to do. The study authors estimate the ban prevented 10 public mass shootings during the decade it was in place before it was allowed to expire. FAWB would have prevented 30 public mass shootings that killed 339 people and injured an additional 1,139 people, the authors said. And this is coming from Northwestern now. So Francesca, it is so good to see the Reverend Dr. Bernice King jump into this, and even using the example of what happened to her father 55 years ago. That was just yesterday when we on this show and all kinds of people across the country and the world recognized the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But the way she wrapped that together, that weapon that he was assassinated with would be the equivalent of what people are walking around with today. Just so powerful and so courageous of the King family to continue to use what has happened to them to help, to edify, to lift, to remind, and to push us in this country.
Yes, and I just want to say I like her call to action as well. I mean, I think it's incredible. Like the Montgomery bus boycotts. Yeah, they're sustained, they're driven. It's not just a one-off. So I think that's an excellent idea, and I'm reminded of Greta Thunberg's strike for the climate or school strike for the climate. I think we can school strike for gun control.
There it is. We can school strike for gun control. That's it. Y'all wrap your minds around everything that Francesca and I have just talked about, and we will be right back after this.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was the white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
And welcome back to the show. You know we are at my all-time favorite part. But before we get to your comments, let me remind you that you can listen to Unboss wherever you get your podcast. So make sure that you do that. You could also, if you don't have the opportunity, go ahead and listen on video on demand or listen and watch video on demand. So weekdays 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. PT time. Put that smartphone up to that Q code. Why don't you unboss one of the best hours of your day? Now, y'all know membership. Members make it happen. You keep us robust. You keep us independent. And we need you to become a member. It's good to subscribe to the various shows. But baby, if you want to be deep, deep, deep in the streets, I mean deep into the family, why don't you become a member of TYT? We need you. So do that. Go to tyt.com. and become a member. And don't forget the watch list is up next, right after Unboss. You don't have to go anywhere. Just go ahead and keep on joining our family, starting with the watch list. J.R. Jackson, weekdays 5 p.m. ET time, 2 p.m. PT time. Do that for us. Now to your comments, and we are going to start with our, you guessed it, our TYT members. Mountain Dragon, hey Mountain Dragon, where you been? I haven't read a comment from you in a while, I don't think, but I'm so glad to read your comment. You know what time it is? Turner time. We got the boss and Francesca working together. The corrupt Republicans and weak neoliberals are in trouble when truth starts. I know that's right, Mountain Dragon. They know they in trouble. And on Twitch, Sylvia, Nina, and Fran, exclamation point, a beautiful and insightful bump halfway through this week.
Yes.
Appreciate that. I love being called beautiful and brilliant, baby. Them two things always go together. Don't mess with me now. Yes. Talk, sweet talk to me. And on YouTube, super chat, Henry. Hey, Henry, Nina and Francesca, yes! Exclamation point and a heart. We appreciate that, Henry, Sylvia, Mountain Dragon, and each and every one of you. We couldn't get to all the comments, but we got to some. We appreciate you so very much. The queen of neoliberals is back. Once again, Governor Kathy Hochul had me saying, WTF, neoliberal.
We will now kneel.
Miss Cinema, no.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
After scoring $500,000 from oil and gas interests, Governor Hochul wants to allow utilities to burn fossil fuels for decades longer than they currently have permits to do so. This is the great state of New York. Here's the details thanks to Julia Rock from The Lever, one of our partners here for this reporting. So here we go. The governor's office wants to place a provision into the state's $230 billion budget that will change how the state counts methane emissions, allowing energy companies to include more natural gas in their energy mix while still complying with the state's climate laws. Ain't that somehow they can just change the rules of the game, baby? They don't want to change the rules of the game for the everyday people, but they're gonna change the rules of the game for their owner donors always. It doesn't matter if they Democrats or not. If they part of the latte liberals or the brunch bunch, this is what you get. You know, Fran, I mean, that's it.
I heard you say that.
The brunch, listen, we need to do, some people, the Brady bunch, with all the
latte liberals and the brunch bunch is great.
The brunch bunch and the latte liberals. That's what they are. I'm trying to keep it PG as much as I can. And so
it's good.
It's a 4-letter word every other time. So I'm thinking of creative ways, but that brunch bunch, that's what she is part of. Two of Hochul's administration officials. Now you talk about having your own cheerleaders, Francesca. Two of Hochul's administrative officials had the nerve to write an essay, an op-ed supporting the proposed change. Now you want to talk about insider? You couldn't get an outsider, but no, two people from your administration. This is how Kathy Hochul is delivering climate action and affordable energy. Oh Lord, and I can't believe US Today allowed them to do that, but here we are. Now here is what they wrote. We're confident that the final budget will shape up to include historic climate commitments, including an economy-wide cap and invest program, ways to accelerate our development of renewable energy and our transition to all electric buildings so we can ultimately reach our climate goals while ensuring affordability for New York families. Now, as a reminder, because we got to walk back down memory lane and put all of this stuff into context. In 2019, New York passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which triggered the most ambitious requirements in the country for how quickly the state should decarbonize its economy. It requires the state to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 and achieve net zero emissions by 2050. But here's how Governor Hochul is trying to just kind of sneak around that. Governor Hochul is backing a provision that would use an accounting trick to allow the state to continue burning natural gas for decades longer under the CLCP. That state calculates the impact of climate emissions over a 20-year period. One of only 2 states that does this. Hochul's proposed change would revise that to a 100-year period. Again, thank you, Julia Rock. The provision would benefit natural gas producers and utilities because it would impact how methane, the primary component of natural gas, is treated by law. Finally, Hochul's office said the accounting changes are necessary to keep costs low for utility customers. Always they're gonna use that keep costs low. The hell with the environment and the climate. The hell with it, because that's pretty much what they're doing here. Her office also said the cost of the CLCPA hadn't been fully analyzed. But what's the cost to the environment, Governor? That's the cost that the people of the great state of New York need to know. They also need to know that you controlled by your owner donors, chick. And here's the kicker. During her 2022 campaign, y'all go ahead and put Francesca up too. During her 2022 campaign, the governor received, y'all sitting down for this or you standing up? One of the two. During her 2022 campaign, the governor received more than $480,000 in donations from utility and fossil fuel executives and lobbyists. Do you think this is why the governor is doing what she does? It might be that almost $500,000 flipping dollars that she received from the industry, Francesca. I don't know. I mean, the math is mathing just fine on this one. Follow the money.
I mean, and it's a perfect example of why we get stuck with, right-wing pseudo-fascists like Lee Zeldin if, because neoliberals and Democratic neoliberals, in my opinion, I mean, we all know Republicans are neoliberals. They're just as economically neoliberal. It's, but the point is that when centrist corporate Democrats don't act and they renege on their promises like they do time and time again and accept all this money and talk out of both sides of their mouth, what happens? People lose faith in them. And no, they might not vote for the opposition, but they're gonna stay at home, right? And then of course, young people get blamed. You should have come out for what? For this mealy mouth, like BS, which is completely like going back on everything that she promised. And here's the thing about climate change and climate legislation. It's tough. I know it's tough. It's very tough. Why? Because unless you are willing to raise taxes on the uber wealthy in your state and redirect that into actually investing in communities, giving them, let's subsidize those costs. If the costs are going up, subsidize them with what? With the taxes that you're gonna tax the super wealthy in your state, right? Okay, you don't wanna do that? Why don't you slap the fossil fuel industry with a tax themselves? Why don't you make them pay it? But they'll never do that because the way our political system works that is completely dirty with fossil fuel money is they reinvest in buying themselves politicians. And then the cycle just repeats all over again. So, oh my God, Nina Turner, we are stuck in this, terrible, terrible cycle of corruption and climate chaos. And we're not getting out of it because no one has the guts.
There it is, no intestinal fortitude. I want to get off this hamster wheel, I tell you that. That's it. And when you get neoliberals, and you're right, Republicans are neoliberals as well. Those types, that mentality is the same, it's different sides of the same coin, and people end up losing. So we gotta ask ourselves, what is the cost to our country and to our world if our leaders, and that's community by community, state by state, and nation by nation, does not finally decide to collectively do something to heed the warning that Mother Earth is giving us every single day. And she is warning us that as people, the human beings on this planet, we're messing it up. I was gonna say the other word. We're messing it up. Y'all go ahead and put that F in there. Yeah, royally messing it up. But that's just because that's the reality today doesn't mean it has to be the reality tomorrow. We're gonna keep you up on this. We have to, because we only got one Mother Earth. Now we're on our way to Ohio. We went to Tennessee, we went to Florida. Now we right back in my home state. Oh, East Palestine. The residents of East Palestine are still going through. All levels of government have failed my fellow Ohioans, and I mean royally. They've been lied to. They've been lied to and disregarded, disrespected, forgotten about, and it's been since the beginning of the derailment, starting in February. Since the very beginning, they ain't put no respect on the name of my family and friends and sisters and brothers in East Palestine, just no respect at all. And they were told by Governor DeWine and other federal officials that everything was fine, that there was nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. I mean, even the Secretary of Transportation didn't comment on what happened in East Palestine for 10 days. And then he had to be dragged, thank you, lover, had to be dragged before he even came here. And then we got a president of the United States has yet to come to East Palestine, and people are still suffering. And they weren't told the truth. They were lied to. The governor, my governor, this governor, let me just say it that way, had the pure unadulterated gall to drink the water. But let's go ahead and put up this headline. 7 CDC workers fell ill investigating train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. In the days following the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, a group of investigators fell ill while looking into the chemical exposure of residents. Now let's take a quick look back. Some of you may absolutely, I hope that you remember this story. We've covered it many times on Unbossed, and we will continue to cover it because when poor folks and working folks, when everyday people are left behind, you gotta have some news source that's gonna cover it and tell their story. You done found it right here, baby, on TYT. So let's take this quick look back. A Norfolk Southern train went off the tracks in East Palestine on February 3rd after a wheel bearing overheated, spilling toxic chemicals into the air, the water, and the soil, according to preliminary findings from the National Transportation Safety Board. Residents evacuated their homes as the company executed a controlled release of vinyl chloride to prevent an explosion. They blew the stuff up in a controlled way. And guess what? Family and friends, sisters and brothers, the stuff went into the air, it went into the soil, it went into the water. That's what happened. 15 investigators from the CDC and Prevention and the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry were wrapping up their probe of chemical exposure on Monday in the East Palestine area. But just a few weeks ago, 7 of those investigators themselves may have experienced exactly what they were looking into. I mean, we can't make this stuff up. And what makes this so telling is that you had countless state and federal officials telling the residents of East Palestine that everything was all right then and there, drink the water. And despite the coverage that showed sores and rashes and other independent media sources out there collecting information from the residents, you had these extra special titled folks still lying to the people of East Palestine. Many of you may recall, we went down there ourselves and had the opportunity to talk to folks, and we had a local guide there by the name of John, and it was something to behold. People were angry, they were sad, and they had every right to be because they felt left behind. And then look at this right here, the very people conducting the investigations that fell sick. The residents tried to tell them, yeah, they did. And the governor, as I said, even drank the water while wildlife was dying. The fish were dying. The wildlife was telling us as human beings, hey, something is wrong. Francesca, your thoughts about this developing story?
I mean, we knew this was gonna happen. Everybody knew this was gonna happen, and it's gonna keep on happening. And I'm so glad you're covering it. I'm so glad we continue to stay on this story. And we're gonna have to check in with this spill and many other derailments and spills like it. But this is not going away anytime soon. My thing is, we're at a time coming off the back of, I mean, I don't even know, we're still on the back of the pandemic, but where the CDC has been vehemently demonized, right? And I have my critiques of the CDC and what they didn't do and should have done in different moments of the pandemic. But here you have them deployed in this corporate made, not sort of natural pandemic, right? Not a pandemic situation, but corporate made toxic waste here and spill. And now they're the ones who are also bearing the brunt of it, right? And here's what I want to say is the CDC is important. It is important to support the CDC. I think it's interesting and sort of fitting the way that they got sick because we knew there were toxic chemicals. But this is this whole story to me is just further proof of why government agencies are important to fund, are important to support, right? And that we can't just let everything go to the train barons and other people who want to use our towns like their toilets.
Yeah, no, we have to have regulators. We got to have people who can inspect. We need people watching. Laissez-faire just does not work. And what is happening to the residents in East Palestine, and then also people in Pennsylvania, this stuff doesn't stop in East Palestine. And then we found out in other reporting that they're taking the soil, this contaminated soil from Ohio, and taking it to places like Texas. Give me a break. This stuff it absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, but they're doing it. And government is poisoning its own people and letting corporations like Norfolk Southern get away with it. Norfolk Southern should bounce. That's what should happen here. They should bounce. So we're gonna keep on telling the story of the residents of East Palestine, because it's East Palestine, it's Flint, Michigan, it's Jackson, Mississippi, it's Cleveland, Ohio, it's Chicago, Illinois. Name your city, baby. It's coming to a city and a place near you, because definitely what affects one directly affects us all indirectly, quoting the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you know what, Francesca, I'm glad to see that Erin Brockovich, and some people may remember her. There was a great movie made about her. I don't know if that movie is maybe 20, 25 years old.
God,
it was such a
don't
great
make me
movie.
feel old.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You were just a little baby. You don't remember that movie. You remember it because you watched it. You just watched it 10 to 15 years ago. But it was a great movie. Julia Roberts played Erin Brockovich. She's a real badass, is what she is. True, based on a true story. And Erin Brockovich has been engaging with the people of East Palestine. So she's American paralegal, consumer rights activist, a whistleblower. And she tweeted this out, and man, is this not the truth? It is. This was after the all clear. Think about that. This after the folks said everything gonna be all right. This was after the all clear. I know you don't wanna panic, but people need to be able to trust that the information they are getting is accurate. Best wishes to these folks who walked into harm's way to try to help this town. And what Erin is talking about, this is real. Like, you wanna be able to trust what people with extra special titles say, but they were lied to. The residents of East Palestine were lied to, starting with Governor Mike DeWine. And now the very people who are charged with trying to get to the bottom of how dangerous it is or not actually fell sick themselves. Gotta love Erin Brockovich.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she is absolutely masterful.
And this is what corporate greed does, and this is what capitalism does. You want to talk about capitalism? You're mad at socialists. You think socialism ruined anything? Look at what capitalism did. That's right there. That's what it did. It treated everyone else like a garbage dump. Didn't take responsibility for its own corporate malfeasance. The bug was the feature. They don't put brakes on their adequate brakes on their train cars. Why? Because they don't want to spend the money. Why? Because they want more money for their shareholders. Why? Because they're buying up all their own shares and overinflating the stock prices. That's capitalism. That's all. It doesn't care about us at all.
At all. Unfettered greed. This is unfettered greed at its worst. They need to put a check on this stuff. But the very people that were asking to put a check on it, the people who were elected to not allow this kind of thing to happen, and that when it does happen, to make sure that the parties involved have to pay a price, they are actually receiving money from these people. And so therefore they let the everyday people like the residents of East Palestine just suffer on through. I'm telling you, we're gonna keep on reporting on this. This is real, and this is gonna have a long-term effect on that community for many, many decades to come. And they need short-term relief and they need long-term relief, and they deserve that relief. Norfolk Southern is being sued right now by the state of Ohio. That is a good thing. And I hope to God that they bounce. This is the time for us to go ahead and talk about nationalizing the railways. Need to do that. We'll keep you posted on this. We're gonna give you an election recap. We are going to the great states of Wisconsin and Illinois, baby. We got some good news, and we'll start with the Chicago mayor's race. Take a look at this.
NBC News projects Brandon Johnson will be Chicago's next mayor. Brandon Johnson, who is a former public school teacher in Chicago, currently Cook County Board Commissioner. He's a former teachers union organizer. He was endorsed by Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Bernie Sanders, and the Chicago Teachers Union. He is opposition candidate Paul Vallas, also running as a Democrat. Both of these candidates running as Democrats. Paul Vallas was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. Also, Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat, endorsed Paul Vallas. And so this was perceived as the more liberal Democrat Brandon Johnson running in that race.
That's right, the progressive one. I hate when they mix up liberal to liberal because there is a difference. And we're gonna see, hopefully Brandon Johnson is the progressive that he claimed he was, because former Mayor Lightfoot claimed she was a progressive too. People just using that word, but that's right. Progressive candidate Brandon Johnson will become the next mayor of Chi-Town. He and Paul Vallas went head to head. It was a hotly contested runoff to replace Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And as you heard from each candidate's endorsement, they couldn't have been more different. Remember, we talked earlier this week about how Betsy DeVos jumped her butt in this race, her super PAC, giving $60,000 in support for Paul Vallas. Luckily, that money did not work. And in a race that was seen as a big money versus progressive ideas and the public education support, the progressives' ideas won, and in no small part because of the teachers union supporting this candidate, Brandon Johnson. Good on them. And here is Brandon in his victory speech shouting out the unions that supported him.
To HCII, SCIU, SCIU 73, to the CTU, to the CCTU, to the IFT, the AFT, the UWF, because make no mistake about it, Chicago is a union town.
Yeah, baby. Go ahead and put Francesca up. We ain't got a whole lot of time left.
No, I just want to say this.
Yeah.
This win is huge. I mean, it really was absolutely pivotal for the city of Chicago to get Brandon Johnson in there. Paul Vallas would have been a disaster. We all know that. He's off gonna go privatize, the school system in, I don't know, Argentina next, right? Like that dude is a mercenary of neoliberalism. So hats off to everyone who worked for this campaign. And I wish that city the best. And I know they can do this because Brandon Johnson has grassroots support. And as long as he doesn't lose them and they don't lose him, I feel like they'll weather everything that's coming their way.
Oh, they will, and they will hold him accountable. And then let's just quickly go to Wisconsin. Chicago was the only place to mark some good news. Liberals will win control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. CNN projects that a Democrat-backed candidate, Janet, she was elected to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And that is really good because that will turn the tide when it comes to all types of things. But more importantly, people are really focusing in on abortion rules and abortion rights. Let's put up Judge Janet's picture, baby. There she is, she did that thing. And her opponent, Daniel Kelly, had a classless concession speech, to say the least. We won't play that concession speech, but he was madder than a mofo. Let's just say that. I mean, he was not gracious at all that he was talking about. But congratulations to Judge Janet. Congratulations to Mayor-elect Brandon. Congratulations to all of us because their wins really help every one of us. We don't have to live in Wisconsin or Illinois to understand why it is so important. Well, that is our time today, Francesca. It went way too fast. I'm looking forward to April's with Francesca.
Yeah.
Yes, April with Francesca. Sending you a whole bunch of love. And to each and every one of you who joined us today, thank you so much. Make sure you take time out and watch that video on demand or send the clip to somebody. Tell them don't miss one of the most important hours of their day. You know what I want you to do about this time? I always want you to keep the faith, but with that faith, baby, you got to put some fight on it. Until next time.